We are live. Yes, we are. Well, good morning and happy Monday, everybody. How's everybody doing? This is exciting. Good. Having our second doctor call. Kimmy, I see your beautiful self in the corner. Are you joining us, sister? Welcome. So today we have Jeff Donohue, and Jeff, you are part owner of Cocoa Vida. And I am going to actually share your about here. And so this morning, I am super excited because Jeff is our chief medical advisor here at Cocoa Vida. And let me share my screen so y'all can see a little bit more about him. And so here you can see a little bit about Jeff Donohue. And of course, like I said, he's part owner of Cocoa Vida. So Dr. Donohue, he actually is certified in anti-aging functional medicine. And I know you specialize in hormones as well. And so I am super excited about this call, Dr. Donohue, because I just recently turned 40. And it's funny because as I've gotten closer to this number, of course, it's just a number, but a lot of, I hear a lot of women talking, not complaining, just like talking about, hey, you know, they sense their hormones are changing. Maybe the stress is up a little bit. You know, you have teenagers, your parents are getting older. It's like that weird age. And so a lot of women are struggling. I know men do as well, but what would you say to the 40-something women out there that struggle with their hormones?
Oh, goodness. How much time do we have today?
I know. Join us next week. We'll still be talking.
Yeah, no, this is pretty much the wheelhouse of my practice. So I do anti-aging functional medicine, regenerative medicine, we call it. And probably the crux of my practice is the perimenopausal, meaning about 10 years before menopause, female, and periandropause, which is that kind of 10-year window for a guy before we lose our hormones. And this is who we see. I mean, I always say, and I know some of us are not in the US right now, but what American lifestyle is not primarily focused on stress. You know, we live 1,000 miles an hour. Everything we do is 1,000 miles an hour. We're all these people that I'm seeing on this T-board, Kim, we all go as fast as we can and as hard as we can and all that. But when you do that, you make cortisol. You know, cortisol is that fight or flight hormone. And that fight or flight hormone says, thank you very much. Whatever you put in your mouth, I'm going to save it for later. So it's abdominal area, you know, anywhere from the chest to the lower thighs, it's kind of where in women and men, we tend to save this hormone. So it's doing you that disservice. But we put it there and that we make that hormone. Our brain tells our adrenal gland, which is that fight or flight gland, hey, you're running from a fire, you won the lottery, you were in a car wreck today, or you worked 17 hours. Your body can't tell the difference in stress. Stress is stress is stress. So people say, but I live a great life and I travel and you know, I have 5 kids, and your body doesn't know if you just did that again or you just ran from the fire. So you got to look at them as the same thing, because that's what they are. They're the same thing. So trying to blunt that cortisol response is, you know, what I talk a lot about in my practice. So I get a lot of trainers, and we have some Olympic athletes and such in the Atlanta area, and they'll come see us, and you know, they have their muscles, but they have a little bit of a belly right there. Right. It doesn't matter if you're a trainer, you're a weightlifter, you're a whatever. When you have high cortisol demand, your body's telling you to store it and save it for later.
Why does it do that? Why does it make cortisol make you gain weight?
Yeah, so cortisol, it works on your cells, your muscles, your fat, to open them up and to push that fat and those carbs into cells for storage. Particularly, think about it. If you're in fight or flight mode, you're not thinking about procreating, higher learning, making muscle, you're in survival mode. So your body says, okay, to save this fat for later, because it's a good energy source, I'm going to put it in the abdominal area. You know, we all get that little belly, and you know, the tires in the back, the guys who get in the back. Well, I mean, I don't, but Tibor may, but some of the other guys do. Just kidding. but we all tend to save it in that general area. Right. So here's another thing that I see. So, well, okay, if I've got this body fat, then I'm going to exercise it off. So my folks that are high stressed, and then they go join Orange Theory, and they wonder why they didn't lose the fat. What's the difference if you had a terrible day at work and then you go run 1,000 miles an hour climbing a mountain or going up Orange Theory. Why would you do that? Your body doesn't know the difference in good stress, bad stress, exercise stress. So the stress, recipe for those folks is, okay, go do yoga, just go for a walk, go do Tai Chi, go prayer. It's not go to boxing class and go do kickboxing for high intensity for an hour and do Orange Theory. These girls think they can run it all off. You can just run it all off, and then they lose their muscle mass and they gain belly fat in the abdominal area. And why? I wonder why. Why is this happening? You got to turn that hormone down, or you're going to stay in storage mode.
Okay. So here's the next question, doctor. How do we tell our nervous system, hey, a bear's not chasing you? Is there a way we can reprogram this? Because I think like you said, the American lifestyle is geared so much toward go, 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 that our bodies are just staying that way. And so on a daily basis, how do we start our day or get in a habit where our body knows a bear's not chasing us?
Yeah, so there's I call it a multi-pronged approach. So the number one way, and I tell people this all the time, I put this plan together for you and you want to sabotage me, here's the one way to sabotage me: don't sleep. You must sleep 7 hours minimum. And all my night shift workers and ER docs and police and firemen and all that work these night shifts, and they feel this, it's because the only really time you recover that fight or flight mechanism is when you sleep. And we prefer sleep during the nighttime hours. The night shift workers and people that work, 7 to 11s or 7 to 3s. That's not how we need to make this happen. So number one is sleep, 7 hours. It just so happens Cocoa Vita offers a nice product for that. We have a CBD type product that will help you sleep, calm your anxiety, help inflammation. But that's number one. Number two, we talk about hormone manipulation, hormone balancing your hormones, whether you're male or female. Get with your primary care, your gynecologist, your functional medicine doctor if you got one, and get a full panel of female hormones, male hormones. Don't forget thyroid. And as we go into the doctor's office and we just want to check what's called a TSH, make sure they do the full panel. We can go into, again, whole thyroid discussion, but you want to get free T3 and free T4 and reverse T3, all these things we can talk about in detail. But you got to sleep, get your hormones checked, get your thyroid checked. Supplementation, you don't forget your supplements, don't forget the calming herbs. I think we're going to have some future calming herb products to choose from, but the number one is CBD. You've heard of chamomile and lemon balm and ashwagandha and all these type things. Very, very important, very powerful in blunting that stress response. We got to turn it down and not off. The normal cortisol response is to wake up in the morning, kind of peak around noon, and then start coming back down. We don't want to see off the chart, but we also don't want to see flat. So one thing I warn people about is if you go unchecked for too long, you're going to come see me in 2 or 3 years and you're going to hit the crash where you're just flat. And that's when the fibromyalgia patients come see me, and the chronic fatigue. And, guess what, Dr. Donohue? Now I got rheumatoid, I got lupus, I got another autoimmune disorder, because you got to balance your cortisol. It's not about being too high or being flat. We want a natural, normal curve. And so pay particular attention to, and you can go online and order saliva cortisol tests and such. They're very readily available these days. But it's all about balance. The next thing I talk about is the exercise component. I didn't say don't exercise. I'm saying don't over exercise.
That was a question I had. That was perfect that you said that. Okay, good.
Yeah, go for a walk.
So Jeff, when you say that, I usually go to the gym like 5 times a week, and I don't do cardio. I do the Stairmaster, but I like to lift weights because I want to maintain, I don't want to lose muscle.
Right.
Is that a no?
No, that's a good thing. What we don't want is heart rate exercise on a daily basis. We don't want to go get on the treadmill every single day, climb a mountain every single day. So today, 25 minutes of high intensity or treadmill or walking. The next day, just do yoga, just lift weights, just go for a walk. The next day, 20, 25 minutes. I'm okay with we call it mixed activity, but the day of, I'm an hour in the treadmill, then I'm going to go hour on the bike, and then I go lift weights for an hour. how is that calming in any fashion? It's because it's not,
Yeah.
right?
No, it's
Yeah.
not. Huh?
No, it's not. Yeah. So you cannot exercise this off. I gotta speak about the last piece of this is, and this is going to be a whole nother talk. And I know we had the cooking show on last night, but we got to talk nutrition. It's
Yes.
how you fuel your body. So
Yes.
you've heard of all the diets. There's paleo and there's keto and there's intermittent
Oh,
fasting and there's pick one, right? I mean,
it's
what's the
so
variety?
confusing, Jeff. It's
Yeah.
so confusing. I'm like
Yeah,
seeing all this and you're like, because is not everybody's body different. So what works for
absolutely.
somebody will not work for somebody
Absolutely.
else. So
And
how do
there's
you know
genetic
what
testing.
works?
Yeah, there's genetic testing out now which shows you how you store fat, how you make muscle, and all those tests are available. But in general, I would say you got to keep the sugars and carbs low. If you have high cortisol, you probably have with another hormone that's called insulin, and those are both storage hormones. And if you want to turn those hormones on, feed it sugar. What
Oh,
a cortisol body will love is, okay, I have really high stress and I'm gonna eat a piece of cake. You're going to save that for later. You're going to save it
oh,
for later. It's very difficult to do that with a piece of lean meat or quality fish or some beans or vegetables. But you have a bread, a rice, a pasta, a noodle, chips, crackers, candy, all those simple carbs and simple sugar. You're going to save it for later. That's just the way the body's made. So I love intermittent fasting. And again, we can get into longevity data and all the data about how to live longer. There's a lot of data on that, but small, little, frequent feedings throughout the day tend to keep a nice balanced cortisol. We want to balance cortisol. So start the day with protein. Have a protein shake or protein smoothie. 10 o'clock, have a half an apple. Lunch, you have a salad and a piece of protein, and I'll have a handful of almonds around 3, and then a nice dinner. But once you finish dinner, no more food. Do not have a
oh,
late night snack. Do not have a little bowl of ice cream. Do not have whatever you think you got to have before bed. You're just going to save it for later. That's all you're really
okay.
going to do.
So you're like punching me in
This
the
is our
face with
consult, right?
everything that you're
Today,
saying.
this is our
Yeah.
consult. Yeah.
This is Jeff showed up and he's like basically telling me what not to do. So I'm telling on myself here, you guys. So no, but I love this, Jeff, because the nutrition is a huge part of it. And
It
so
is.
you guys, like Jeff said, look, even though he's a doctor, we're not giving medical advice. These are just helpful hints to help you live a stress-free life, balance your hormones. So if you have any questions, always go back to your personal doctor before making any changes. We at Cocoa Vita do not make any medical claims, treat any disease. So I just want to say that.
Thank you for saying that. Yes, I
You're welcome.
appreciate that. Yeah.
So Jeff, a question that I do have. So say, you finish dinner around, 5:30, 6 o'clock. Is there a
Mhm.
specific timeline that you should say, okay, I know I'm going to bed at 9, that's my bedtime. Should it be so many hours before you go to bed that you stop eating?
Right. So definitely 2 hours before, no food. But I'll
Okay.
give you one thing I do allow, and that's protein powder. If you want to sleep well and make muscle, having a scoop of protein, but not weight gainer, not the carved out ones. And I prefer there's hemp protein powder, which I love, vegan protein powders. I
Yes.
don't. We'll talk about dairy and whey and all that in another discussion. But maybe it's maybe 100 calories in water. It
Okay.
fills you up. I actually put fiber in there because fiber helps your cholesterol and lowers your blood sugar. It blows up in your stomach and fills you up. So a little fiber and 100 grams of protein powder, not 100 grams, 100 calories. It's about 20 grams of powder. I
Right.
love that before bed because it makes protein, amino acids, which make you sleep better. You'll make muscle better. It starts your day right. So I'm okay with that, but definitely nothing other than that 2 hours before dinner, before bedtime.
So it's funny that you said about the protein shake, Jeff, because Dustin just recently, I don't know, a couple weeks probably, started taking a protein shake before bed.
Yeah,
And got on the
yeah.
scale this morning, he's down 5 pounds.
So you're mad at him first of all, right?
I'm totally mad at him, Jeff. Like, I am so annoyed. I want to punch him in the face. He's like, go down 5 pounds. I was like, get out. We're not even talking about this. And I was like, I probably found them. So get out. I don't want to hear it. He wanted me to celebrate with him. It wasn't going to happen.
I
So
understand.
that's a great idea to do that, because I know
Yeah,
sometimes I go to bed, my stomach's growling, and then I'm
yeah,
like, then it's like, okay, then you start the thing in your head. What can I eat that's not gonna be bad for me? And then the late
yeah,
night snacks usually that you tend to go for are not the
yeah.
healthy.
They are not. They are not. And again, I know there's a lot of doctors on our panel, and we all think differently or have different opinions about this, but that little small frequent meal, and then intermittent fasting is another great way to do this. But in that intermittent fasting, eat the same way. Eat lower sugar, lower carb. I like good fats, avocados, nuts, and seeds. They're higher calories, so don't have a bucket of peanuts or almonds or whatever you choose. A handful is all you
Right.
need. Half an avocado. Great sources, but just too much of a good thing is too much of a good thing, really.
Yeah.
I'm limitless on salads. As long as you try to get organic and make sure they're good quality. There's
Yeah.
just a bunch of fiber and cellulose. It's great for the GI tract. So I love that as a kind of a fill me up as well.
And I'm glad that you said that, because Dr. Jen and Dr. Jamie actually touched on that yesterday when they were cooking,
Yeah,
and it was like,
yeah,
I love that show already. I'm super
that was
excited.
funny. That was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
But I love how they were throwing in hints, because a lot of people don't realize the toxic overload too, and that could also be associated with your body not being able to shed weight as well. Is that right?
Yeah, if you look at Dr. Campbell's talk from last week, a lot of it so much is about detoxification. So
Right.
it starts a lot by what we put in our mouth and what we drink. And I mean, you can't help the air that you breathe. In Atlanta, it's filled with arsenic and such. So a nice way to start a plan is to do like a 7-day detox. There's a lot
Right.
of companies that offer a little 7-day detox, clean the liver, help with the kidneys, get the brain better. It's not the bowel movement necessarily, going once a day or twice a day,
Right.
whatever. But these liver detoxifiers are a great way to kind of reset, because they get your diet, you start vegan, then you add a few things, add another few things. So it's a great little way to boost, because it's only going to make your hormones work better, your thyroid work better, your cortisol work better, because the liver, is that filter. You got to clean that liver out to make sure you can process everything else appropriately. So her talk was great last week. I use it on all my new patients. I give them a little 7-day detox kit. Hey, start
Okay.
here, because your diet plants in it, then we'll add afterwards. It's a great way
And
to get going.
just a little, we're not going to spill the beans, but Cocoa Vita is working on something to help with toxic overload. So that's for
Oh, imagine that.
imagine that. Who would have guessed?
Yeah, no, right?
So that's something that is so needed. And like you said, it was funny. We were sitting outside yesterday and there's chemtrails. And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
oh, these toxins are everywhere. So
Yeah.
we can control what we can control. And so,
Yes.
if we can make changes at home and switch out things, little by little in our home, and
Yeah.
really that's what we're about here with Cocoa Vita on, being toxic free. And Marta, I'm gonna come over to you. You're super quiet, and she's joining us from Sweden today. And I know you love the doctor calls, and Tibor popped back on. You love the doctor calls.
You said Sweden.
And yes, and how important is this for you? I know you're huge on all this and the science and everything.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I love everything. I'm sitting here writing everything down, even though I've heard it a couple of times before. But for me, it's actually very interesting to hear about this, because I was diagnosed with pre-Addison disease, which is with the cortisol. I think it's the same in the States. I don't know. A cortisol deficiency, right?
Can be, but yes, correct.
Yeah, so I didn't have enough cortisol in my body, so that made me sleep for the entire day, actually. And the only thing that my physicians told me, that there's nothing they could do for me. That is, I had to like get used to it. And then a friend of mine told me, well, you got to start try the cannabis, try the CBD. And see what happens in your body when they get the right information, kind of. And that's what I did, and that changed a lot of my balance in my body. So
that's right.
That was incredible. So I was like, now I'm writing everything down, because it's so interesting to listen to this.
One of the things that you described it classically. Remember how I said you can't live with high cortisol forever? Eventually, your cortisol becomes flat. And that's this pre-Addison's that you talk about. We say, adrenal insufficiency here, pre-Addison's, but basically your body had hit a wall and said, I'm not going to make enough cortisol, just enough to get you through the day that you can survive. So good thing about CBD, it helps kind of re-regulate, bring you back in homeostasis. And those cortisol supplements I talk about can rebuild, regenerate your brain connection to your adrenal gland to make your own cortisol again. So you're doing all the right thing, but that example is what I was talking about. When people let their cortisol go unchecked, your body's eventually say, nope, enough of that, and I'm going to flatten you out. So that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, totally flat.
Totally flat.
I slept between 18 and 20 hours a day. So
yeah, we see that for sure.
And
it's all about catching it now while you're up here living it way high to calm it down a little bit so we don't go into that state, Marta. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So Jeff, on that, Marta, what you were saying, the CBD does help bring that back into balance. And that's why, Marta, your health turned around from balancing your endocannabinoid system, right? Which, Jeff, regulates all your other systems, does it not?
Absolutely. There's receptors literally in every cell of the body. So we're all deficient in it because we don't take it, other than probably us on this talk regularly, but it's absolutely should be part of our life as a balancer. So it's going to make your hormones, you're going to make hormones better. You're going to make cortisol appropriately. You're going to sleep better. Remember, how do you sabotage me? Don't sleep. Your cortisol is going to function better. Your thyroid will work better. So it's a great regulator for all of that.
That is absolutely amazing. And here at Cocoa Vida, y'all, we are a hemp and wellness club, and we are working to bring humanity back to nature through natural products for your wellness and your home. So, be watching, because our product line is going to grow. Like I said, we have some surprises coming up, and we are going to jump off this call and wrap this up. And then Jeff is going to be joining us on the laser call. And I'm really excited about that. We have some really good news coming up for that. So join us next week. Next week, Dr. Jen will be here. And after our talk today, I have a particular thing that I'm going to ask her if she'll talk about, because I'm super excited. It was that you guys are going on with like a series is what it seems. So I love that. So next week, you guys, noon Eastern time. I'm looking at my clock. I'm 2 hours behind on my mouth. So I almost got confused there. So join us. And like I said, you guys, we're going to jump to the laser call. So join us for that. And thank you, Jeff. This was incredible today. Thank you so much.
Great. Nice to see you guys.
All right.
So
We'll
much.
see you guys next week.
Talk soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.